everyone. I have a beautiful set of cards to make with you today using Wild Whispers Nature's Bliss paper pad. I'm going to be using the 6x6 papers from this pad, these 3 patterns, and we're going to create some really kind of fun, whimsical designs. Since we're changing our seasons pretty soon here, I decided to use patterns that were reminiscent of maybe a more fall or winter design. I'm going to use this fun coffee stencil from Vicki Boutin, and I'm going to be using a new to me product that I have completely fallen in love with. This is Fluffy Texture Paste. That's what it's called, Fluffy Texture Paste from Modus Scrap. I found it at Simon Says Stamp, and it's stunning. I love it. It has the most perfect, like, puffy texture. Well, fluffy texture, I guess. I'm sorry if you can hear my dog. My door is closed, but he's determined to say hello anyway. He's saying hello to Joan. Joan is one of my subscribers, and she leaves the sweetest comments, and I really think my dog Cooper likes to say hello to her as often as he can. So he's definitely saying hello to Joan. I'm just going to put this beautiful fluffy texture paste into through this coffee stencil. I'm using Post-it tape. This is a trick that I learned from either Christina Warner or Kathy Zilski. I can't remember, but they are like my card making gurus. So you take your paper and you put the stencil where you want it, and then you can take Post-it tape or purple tape, and you go ahead and kind of tape the paper to the stencil on the back, and then you can put your medium, whatever it is, through the stencil, and things don't shift and move and do wonky stuff. I'm also going to use some Post-it tape because I want to make sure I just want a little bit of this stencil, and I don't want to go over the edges that I've already decided I want to do. These cards are going to have a very, very whimsical feel. They're going to be just note cards that you could send for anything, a note or occasion or anything you like, but we're definitely going to give them a whimsical, fun, kind of different look to them. I really enjoyed how they turned out, and it was really kind of, I often enjoy making adding whimsical elements to my page and kind of making things a little bit just fun and different. I actually have an entire class about using whimsical elements to create pages. And these are cards, but it all works to the same idea. So I'm just spreading this gorgeous, fluffy Modus Scrap texture paste through this stencil. I don't want to waste a lot of it, so I'm giving it a nice even coat. Now, I will tell you that this puffs up as it dries. Like, it becomes a fun, puffy texture that I just find gorgeous. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set these off to the side now, and I'm going to let these card bases kind of dry and cure and get ready to be made into cards. But look how fun that is. I love the juxtaposition between these patterns that are kind of real to life and then these whimsical coffee rings. And then I went through my stamps and I found these beautiful coffee stamps. Again, like, I am doing things that are kind of off the beaten path. And I decided that I want to go ahead and I want to stamp and emboss these stamps, and then I'm going to watercolor them. Now, these stamps are from Emerald Creek, but they were also designed by Pam Bray, who's the same designer that did Wild Whispers Nature's Bliss collection. So I thought that would be really fun because the style would be similar in effect in that they are both very whimsical patterns and whimsical designs. So I'm just going to go ahead, pull out my Big Misty. I'm going to grab my Ulta embossing ink. I'm opening a new package. I actually have an old one and a re-inker, but the old one I use for not stamping, that makes sense. So I do some embossing on die cuts and different things like that, which I'm sure you've seen. And yeah, so I have one that's kind of like grubby and used for one purpose, and then I have one that's this new one, which is just for stamping. So I'm going to go ahead and hit it with the Altenew embossing ink. I'm going to stamp it twice so I get a really, really good impression. And then I chose from my embossing powders 2 embossing powders to work with. One is Charred Gold, which is an embossing powder from Emerald Creek. It has lots of different metallic colors, and it's a little darker, and that's the one I'm going to use here. And then I also pulled from my stash the Rose Gold embossing powder from Altenew, which is just a really pretty light gold. It's not dark. So I have one dark and one light. I am just going to go ahead and emboss these stamps. I'm going to use 2, some of them are in hammered gold and some of them are in the rose gold. And I'm just going to go ahead and emboss them off from that one sheet of white cardstock, kind of loosely cut it out, and then continue on doing all of the different embossing. You can see the different ones there. Now I'm going to go in with some watercolors. So I'm using my Vicki Boutin watercolor pens, which is awesome. Oh, and by the way, how excited do you think I am that Tim Holtz is coming out with a left-handed glass media mat? You have no idea. What you can see here as I paint these is that I'm left-handed. And so I'm like reaching across my body to like watercolor these images because the paint is like off to the side and I have to pull my arm around. Anyway, I know it doesn't seem like a big deal, but when I'm super excited, I know that I totally could turn my whole glass mat upside down, but I don't know. I don't like the idea of the tonic and the Tim Holtz being upside down. It just bugs me. So I'm super excited for the new glass mat, and I actually already have a friend that has offered to buy my right-handed one. So I'm definitely getting a left-handed glass mat when they come out. I'm super duper excited for it. Because it's just going to be really nice to have one that's for lefties like me. Okay, so I went ahead and got my Distress Oxide ground espresso. You can see that I kind of put it on the white part of the board there and hit it with some water, and that's going to give me that perfect kind of coffee color. And then I have these cups are going to be like a little bit of like that reddish purpley color that you see in a couple of the patterns that I chose. And then the big mug is the big glass one is going to be yellow and blue. So I'm just going to go ahead. I am using my glass mat. I'm using some Vicki Boutin watercolor markers and also the ground espresso to get the coloring the way I want it. And I'm going to go ahead and watercolor all of these images. I'm done with the red. And I didn't want the red to mix in with my blue or my yellow, which is what I'm going to use next. And then I'm going to go ahead and I let these dry completely, and now I'm just going to fussy cut all these images out. I don't have dies for these images, but to be perfectly honest, I've kind of been on a kick of wanting to fussy cut my stamped images because then I can get really up close and personal. I don't have that white halo. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but sometimes depending on your design of your card or the design that you're using, you might not want that. So I'm going to go through here. I'm going to fussy cut all of these gorgeous embossed images. They turned out really sweet. I think I'm really happy with how they look. And then by this time, I think my backgrounds are pretty much dry, or I may have actually gone ahead and walked away from everything and then come back to it, quite possibly. And I think I decide to add a little bit more color to that one. Yes, I'm going to add just a touch more blue to that coffee jar. I just wanted it to be a little bit deeper. And so I kind of worked with the watercoloring, moved it around, and just got a little bit of a deeper blue onto that coffee, the jar. Okay, and next up I'm going to use tons and tons of foam dots. mostly small ones. I did find some I did find a couple sheets of big ones that I haven't used yet. So I'm super duper excited about that. But I'm going to go ahead and attach those to the back, and then I'm going to attach my cups and jars and everything to my card bases. So I'm going to go ahead and push those on, and I think that coffee one, was still just a touch damp, but that's okay. And now I have all of my coffee. Where did I go? Oh, I went to get my card bases. So I have all of my water and coloring done, all of my card bases done, and now I can just adhere these card bases to some craft cardstock. This is actually almond cardstock from Close to My Heart, and I really do like this color. I like how one side is light and one side is dark on the one sheet, so you can get lots of card bases, and you can, depending on how you fold them, you can have them be one way or the other, which I think is super cute. And I'm just going to go ahead and put these cards together. I love this whimsical look. I love the fact that there is the white embossing powder or the white texture paste, which gives this these cards this whimsical look. It also gives them just a little bit of a brightness to them that I think is necessary. And to make them kind of all go together, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make white envelopes to mail them in. So that'll be, then it'll a little bit more cohesive. I always think of envelopes as being just as important. Oh, excuse me. Okay, just going to go ahead and put these cards together, and that's going to complete this project for today. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed my whimsical card I've created. If you're interested in these gorgeous Nature's Bliss papers, you can get them in 6x6 and 12x12 over in the Wild Whisper shop. And you can always use my code in the shop, DT Sarah, to save on your order, which, if you're international, helps a little with that shipping. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and here are some close-ups, and I will see you all again very, very soon. Bye!